Sony, no doubt, is probably the best on the market when it comes to active noise cancellation, or ANC, and the WH1000XM-4s are no exception. Names are tough. Let's get into it. You might be wondering why we're doing a review of a product that's relatively old. After all, the XM4s are around 8 months old at the time of filming. However, with the US and other frequently traveled countries beginning to emerge from the pandemic, demand for travel is going to increase, so you might want to pick up a pair of ANC headphones before you start seriously traveling again. Away from the justification, let's get to the headphones themselves, starting as we always do with aesthetics. The XM4s aren't really too unique in terms of a differentiating design. They realistically look like any other given ANC headphone except for the AirPods Max. This is the silver or champagne color, as Sony calls it, but they are available in black and a dark blue also. Personally, I'm more of a fan of the black, but these ones match my WF1000XM3s. Names are tough. Getting back on topic, I'd say overall the XM4s have a pretty slim design. The headband isn't too wide or too thick, and the ear cups are not overtly bulky. The case Sony provides for carrying is also just enough to fit the headphones, as well as a 3.5mm audio cable, USB-C cable, and stereo adapter, which are also included. This makes it a sort of all-in-one package you can carry around that doesn't waste a lot of space, a nifty thing when we're framing these as the travel headphone. But because you'll probably want to actually wear and use these as opposed to just looking at them, let's get into Fitment. Thanks to their slim design, the XM4s are pretty light on the head. I don't think they feel incredibly heavy or fatiguing to have on for an extended periods of time. The clamp force, i.e. how hard the ear cups grip your head, is definitely on the lighter side of the spectrum. While they aren't as light as a pair of open-back headphones like HD598s, they aren't as heavy as closed-back ones like the M50X either. You'd almost expect a pair of ANC headphones to be on the heavier side of the clamp spectrum in order to create a better seal to provide better noise cancellation. As someone who is sensitive to pressure around the head, as in I'll get headaches quite easily if something is pressing down on one area for too long, I appreciate where the XM4s are. The lightness is probably the minimum amount Sony needed to still achieve a decent noise isolation seal. However, the clamp force is also a double-edged sword. While it makes the XM4s comfortable to wear, at the same time, you have to be careful what you're doing while wearing these, or else they might fall off. Sitting or standing still doing an activity is fine, and even light chores around the house I had no issues with them staying on, but I definitely wouldn't work out with these on, especially if your workout involves jumping or running. Again, the inability to wear these while doing more intense activities is a trade-off for long-term comfort. You might also be thinking, if they're so light, then the ANC might suffer because of it, right? Luckily, that's not the case. Sony has spent a lot of time and money into R&Ding their ANC chips, and it really shows. The XM4s provide an insane level of noise cancellation. Obviously, like any ANC device, they're still prone to leaking sharp, repeated noises or a sudden noise, but the XM4s were confident in this regard. Furthermore, they excel in tuning out the static constant noise, like an air conditioner or cabin noise in a car or airplane. I mean, so far, everything has been pretty great, but perhaps most importantly, how do they sound? I admit I had fairly low expectations for these headphones, as I do any Bluetooth audio device, but upon first listen, I was very pleasantly surprised. These are by far the best sounding Bluetooth audio device I have ever heard. The headphones offer a nice, natural, and balanced sound with a good bass response. Obviously, they can only be so good due to the limitations of Bluetooth, but despite all that, I never found myself distracted by how the audio sounded. But hey, you can also plug them in for a fantastic high-res audio experience off the classic 3.5mm jack. That is, if you still daily a device that has one, or have resigned yourself to a dongle. So yeah, the audio is great, even with ANC on. What more is there to the XM4s though? Most of the advertised features, or selling points, really come alive through the use of Sony's Headphones app. It's the same one used for the WF1000XM3s and the previous generation of WH1000XM3s. Names are hard. This app has a ton of features and options you can use to really personalize the XM4s to suit your needs. Perhaps the most important control here is the ANC control. You can control the intensity of the ANC from off to full and 20 steps in between. Having it set to one of these higher steps lets in more and more outside noise and even pipes them in through the onboard mics, exactly like an ambient mode on other headphones that you might be familiar with. Kind of moving through the feature list in the app, we have EQ, which you can use a preset or set your own. I personally just left this off because I prefer a more reference sound. And then there are two sort of tuning options, personal optimizing and atmospheric optimizing. The former will ask you questions about various things you can or can't hear, and the latter is fairly automatic as the headphones will judge the atmospheric pressure around you. Both are used to further refine the ANC experience. I would recommend using the atmospheric optimizer kind of often, depending on your environment. For example, I'd run the tuner again after getting up into the air on an airplane, and again once back on the ground. Moving things along, there's speak to chat, which you can turn on or off. It does pretty much what it says. It'll detect you talking and turn off the noise cancellation, as well as lower the volume of whatever's playing, and then fade everything back in when you're done. This mostly works. While we're on the subject of more gimmicky features, a similar feature to speak to chat can be used by cupping your hand over the right ear cup, and the headphones can also pause and or turn off when they're taken off. This actually works really well, as I didn't have any false positives using this feature. There's also an adaptive sound control, which will allow you to set locations the headphones and app will detect and tune your ANC settings to. For example, you can set it so that ANC is automatically turned off when you're at your house, or turned on when you're at a cafe you frequent. Back to the app, you can also use these headphones with 360 audio apps. I personally never tried this, but if you work in VR a lot, or maybe use an FPV drone, it'd probably be pretty cool. Finally, there's Sound Quality Mode and DSEE Extreme. Sound Quality Mode is pretty simple. It allows you to prioritize stability or audio quality over your Bluetooth signal, so if you're getting issues with audio cutting in and out or frequent clipping, I'd recommend prioritizing stability over quality there. DSEE Extreme is Sony's kinda newish audio codec, and turning this on is kind of a mixed bag. In general, I didn't hear an appreciable difference in quality between having it on or off, but I did notice that it seemed to flatten out the audio of some songs, which in certain cases made the mids a bit more appreciable. However, I did find the biggest difference with this codec in Sony recorded songs. I would say in the case of Sony's more modern recorded songs, having this codec on did improve things just a little bit, but could just be me liking the mix on those better with it on. Wow, it's almost as if Sony records songs with its own codec in mind. Anyway, bottom line is, as I previously mentioned, I prefer a more reference sound, so I kept the codec off. I wouldn't stress too much about constantly turning it on or off based on what I'm listening to. But wait, there's more. The app also allows you to customize the controls on the headphones to your liking. For example, the function of the custom button. You can have the button do things like activate a voice assistant or do what I have it set to, control the ANC. And this leads me to my first and kind of only pet peeve with the XM4s. The biggest upgrade with these over the previous XM3s is multi-device support, so you can have it connected to your phone and laptop at the same time. But say you only want it connected to your laptop. While Sony lets you toggle multi-connect on or off, here's the problem. Whenever the headphones turn on, they defaultly turn on the ANC, regardless of whether or not you had it turned on when you last turned them off. And there's no headphones app or control on, say, my laptop, so I either have to use the custom button to turn off the ANC or connect it to my phone at the same time and use my app. It's kind of annoying being sort of forced to have the button control ANC, but it's not like I'm going to use it for a voice assistant anyway, because they all suck. Speaking of crappy voice assistants, the XM4s can use either Alexa or Google Assistant, so pick your poison. And that's pretty much it. So here's everything worth mentioning but didn't quite fit in the structure of the review. The XM4 is charged through USB-C with a sort of pseudo fast charging, where a 10-minute charge can get you 5 hours of listening time. Furthermore, the battery life is really good. You can go 30 hours on a single charge with ANC or 38 hours with noise cancelling turned off. The might certainly sound better than, say, AirPods, Galaxy Buds, or Sony's own WH1000XM-4s, but still aren't incredible. Build quality is premium for being mostly plastic. The synthetic leather on the earpads doesn't breathe too well, but I personally didn't have any discomfort from my ears getting too warm. The adjustable clicky headband is great and doesn't really adjust due to being rustled during transport. The touchpad can sometimes misinterpret long gestures, but for basic functions that require a tap, it works fine. And that's pretty much it. So where do these stand? Well, at $350, these are by no means cheap. However, they can trade blows with the AirPods Max, despite being older and cheaper. So unless you're an Apple fanboy, I would say save your $200 and pick these up as your noise-canceling headphones of choice. The WH1000XM-4s did a full recommendation for anyone in the market and are part of my personal everyday carry. With that, that's going to do it. Leave a comment down below and let us know what wireless headphones you like and why. And of course, if you enjoyed this content and would like to see more of it, make sure you leave a like and hit that subscribe button. Also be sure to follow us on Twitter at tech_4_thought. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.